Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be covering Florida's upcoming matchup tomorrow at 4 o'clock on SEC Network. Their matchup with the South Carolina Gamecocks. Um, Here it is, Hail Florida, Hail.com, who covers the Florida Gators athletics, mainly the football team. Benjamin Henderson titled, with the schedule looming, USC feels like a must win. That's because it is. Throughout the season, we have expressed our confidence that Florida can knock off South Carolina. Um, Patrick couldn't solve Tony, who was the defensive coordinator for Florida last year, couldn't solve anyone last season, and he even solved Spencer Rattler inside the swamp. Well, I'm confident that Florida's defense can perform well against South Carolina's offense, being the fact that Florida's defense last year was Florida's defense last year was awful, and they held South Carolina 6 points. And then the very next week, South Carolina exploded offensively against Tennessee. Now Tennessee's defense wasn't that good, but the fact that they were able to put up 60 points on Tennessee, but couldn't muster double digit point total on Florida last year, and this year you're facing South Carolina, whose offensive line has gotten worse and the run game has gotten worse, and the defense is worse, and the Florida's defense at the very least got better, should give Florida some reason to believe that they can go on the road and win the game. But the problem is Florida's on the road. Florida is terrible on the road under Billy Napier. Well, they were terrible on the road before Billy Napier in 2021 as well, but Billy Napier has not made it better. They're 1-7 on the road with Billy Napier as their head coach, and William Bryce Stadium is always a tough place to play at, as any SEC fan would know. So it's a tough. It's going to be. It's probably going to be one of those tightly contested matchups Florida's going to have. Florida and South Carolina will present this upcoming Saturday. Um, we know it all offseason that the hype surrounding South Carolina never felt legit. I felt the same way too, considering it is the same squad that got smacked by Florida a week before they played, meaning before they played Clemson and Tennessee. He didn't really add that part. But here we are a week before the game. Vegas doesn't seem to feel Florida's chances. ESPN's football power index is in South Carolina's corner. Um, but here it talks about Florida's schedule after South Carolina. So after South Carolina, the following week they get a bye week, and then their next 5 games are against Georgia, Arkansas, who's coming off a bye week themselves, LSU and Missouri, both on the road, and then Florida State. Georgia's a neutral site game, of course. It's played at the Jacksonville Jaguar Stadium. Only of those 5 games, Florida is only favored against Arkansas. Even Missouri, which we thought was one of the must-win games for Florida coming into the season, is starting to look like a tough task for Florida. Yeah, Missouri is a lot tougher than what I thought they were going to be this year. I was not worried at all about how Missouri was going to look, but the change at the offensive coordinator for Missouri has been great, and Eli Drinkwitz is right now having by far his best year at Missouri by far, considering the fact that beforehand he did not have a winning record the previous couple of years, actually the previous 3 years. So uh, it's a tough stretch for Florida after the bye week. And for Billy Napier, again, it seems like I'm kind of beating the dead horse about him, about his stance, about his where he stands with the program. The best way, in my opinion, that you can classify the best way you can call the rest of Florida's season a success is if he beats South Carolina and Arkansas, bare minimum, to get yourself bowl eligible, because those are your 2 most winnable games of this final 6 game stretch. Those are your 2 most winnable games. So beat South Carolina, beat Arkansas, you become bowl eligible. But if he can somehow find a way to maybe steal another game, like he did, beat a team that he wasn't supposed to, like he did Tennessee this year and Utah last year, if he could possibly steal a victory against either LSU or Missouri to get you to 7-5, and then he wins the bowl game that he would earn by uh, winning 6 games or more, if he can win that bowl game, in addition to beating South Carolina and Arkansas and possibly stealing a game against either LSU or Missouri, maybe not necessarily in that order, but you know what I mean. If he could somehow find a way to go 4-3 the rest of the way and go 8-5, that would be a successful season for Florida, considering the last 2 years that they went 6-7, And the fact that even despite this tough game stretch, you were able to win 2 more games out of this and end the season on a good note and go 8-5, that will be a nice confident booster for the recruits, the players that are returning next year, for Billy Napier as well, and for the fan base. To end the year 8-5, it would be great for the Florida Gators. Currently at 4 wins on the season, Florida needs 2 more to beat Vegas preseason projections, 3 more to feel like the season was accessible, and and 4 more to begin to feel like this season was a success. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I wasn't even reading the article when I was saying all that. That's exactly what I meant. 2 more to get the bowl game, which is the bare minimum. 3 more to feel like the season was acceptable. Okay, 7-5, and then and then 4 more, 8-5 or 8-4, you would feel really, really good. But if Florida cannot knock off the 2-3 South Carolina, where can one confidently find 2 more wins on the remaining slate of games? I'll tell you this right now. I don't think Florida will be able to make a bowl game if they can't beat South Carolina. I, if they can't beat South Carolina, I can barely have confidence that you'll be able. Maybe I'll still have confidence that you can beat Arkansas, but at that point, whatever confidence I could possibly have um, in you beating Florida State, Missouri, LSU, or Georgia would go out the window. Sorry about that. I had to got notifications popping up while I'm recording this. The Gators showcased against Tennessee that they could play high level football. Well, they only played high level for the first half. The second half, well, the defense for Florida played high level football throughout the entire game. The offense for Florida only showed up in the first half. The same Tennessee squad that smacked South Carolina by 21 points. But as the Gators showcased against Kentucky, maintaining that level of consistency has been an issue under Billy Napier, which is a 100% fact. So beating South Carolina won't make the season, and the Gamecocks are not the bar that Florida strives to clear. Yes, but losing and failing to clear this height puts the Gators in a place that they won't be heading into the bye week. So it is a must-win for Florida to not only get this game, but to get bowl eligibility, and possibly change the tune surrounding the program. And it's not just a must-win game for Florida; it's also a must-win game for South Carolina as well. Because right now they're 2-3, they're 1-2 in SEC play. A little bit of a disappointment for them considering all the hype that they had coming into this season. After Florida, they already had their bye week last week. So after Florida, they're going to be playing games throughout the rest of the regular season. They're going to be on the road at Missouri and then on the road at Texas A&M. Um, those are 2 losable games right there. Playing on the road against both of those teams, Texas A&M is a lot better offensively than what they have been in years past. The defense is not as good, but Texas A&M would be a tough matchup for. It's going to be a tough matchup for South Carolina along with Missouri. And then after playing at Missouri and Texas A&M, they're back home for. Excuse me. They end their final 4 games at home, so they're gonna have Jacksonville State and Vanderbilt. Those are 2 wins right there for South Carolina. But then they end their 2 seasons with game against Kentucky and Clemson. Now they beat Clemson last year, but I'm sure Clemson's gonna want. So I'm sure Clemson's gonna want revenge for what happened last year. And Kentucky, you know, they're having a typical Mark Stoops season, kind of like a 7-9 football range team. So they're not going to be a tough outing as well. So South Carolina, I think, needs this game just as bad, if not even more so than Florida, because of the fact that they're already behind the 8 ball, being that they are a 2-3 team, as opposed to Florida, who is, I guess you could say, not out of the woods in terms of missing a bowl game because of the competition that they play after the bye week, but they're certainly not statistically in danger of missing a bowl game at 4-2 with the amount of games that they have left coming on, amount of games they have left in the season. So it's an important game for South Carolina to walk away with, as it is for Florida. So this is a must-win game for 2 programs battling for bowl eligibility, but also for 2 coaches that are trying to really establish their standing with their program as well. Um, so I'm not too confident in picking Florida to win, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I had picked Florida to beat South Carolina um, in the some right before the season started, so I'm gonna stick with that. But I'm not as confident as I was, of course, because of what I've seen from Florida on the road in the Billy Napier era. So my prediction: Florida 24, South Carolina 21.